Sing me a song of a lass that is gone.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee and today's video is another video in the Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone playlist series. Now, these videos are a spoiler-filled chapter review that, if you don't want to know what's happening in this book or you haven't read up to this point, definitely skip away. These videos are not for you. But if you are following along and interested to know what happens in each chapter, then definitely stick around. These videos are for you. Now, from the start of this video series, I have said I'm going to do each chapter as its own video. Alas, we are ending that tradition today. I have decided that it is too hard and it is too much pressure and it is going to take a long time. So I'm going to combine chapters as they sort of fit in. If a chapter is long enough, it will, of course, get its own video. But at the moment, all of the chapters have been a couple of pages long. So, it was getting to a point where it was like, it's hard to get these videos out. It's going to fill up the channel completely with 155 different videos. So I'm going to start combining chapters where they fit in. Bear with me with this though, because I was literally reading a chapter then talking about it. So if I get a slight, if I jump, I'm going to feel awful. But I'm sure I'm going to do my absolute best and we'll go from there. Today's video is concentrating on 3 chapters, chapters 28, 29 and 30. And if you're going from page count, it was from pages 224 to 248. Math Germain at chapter 28 is the first one I want to talk about. Now, this is continuing on from exactly the moment that we ended in the last chapter. The guys on the ridge are heading off to hunt the bear, or the preparations are getting ready to go and hunt the bear. Now, young Ian and Rachel arrive to the big house to help, obviously, with any sort of thing that needs to happen and to go hunting. Ian does arrive in full mohawk hunting gear, and it's here that Jamie asks, has he seen, I'm pretty sure it was the hunting belt and knife. I was not well when I was reading these chapters, so I'm very sorry, but that detail has skipped my mind. But young Ian says to Jamie, well, no, actually, I gave that to my cousin William. And of course, Jamie's like, oh, that's totally fine. Okay. But I thought, oh, here we go. William's being brought back up. He's going to make an appearance anytime now. So as the gentlemen are getting ready to go hunting, Claire is still in her surgery dealing with Amy's body. Now she is starting to undress Amy and work out what is salvageable from her clothing and what just needs to be gotten rid of straight away. And it's here that a really interesting character pops up in Mrs. Cunningham. Now I know I have previously said I think she's evil, and then I had a bit of a backflip. I'm still in the backflip area now that she's arrived here. I think I misjudged Mrs. Cunningham. I think I misjudged her really hard. So she arrives to help with Claire. She arrives to help Claire with Amy's body preparations. And we find out during the very brisk conversation that is happening that Mrs. Cunningham has actually buried 3 husbands and 4 children, which is absolutely just devastating for this poor woman, and might explain why she has such a hard exterior. Now, during all of the preparations, she's very obviously self-conscious, not self-conscious, but she's very respectful of Amy's privacy by hanging up a doona or a sheet across the door to the surgery, because there's still no door built in Claire's surgery yet. Things like that, just the little tidbits, it really just showed, okay, she cares about the dignity of Amy and the fact that, these women are undressing her and, random people are outside, men are walking back and forth. It was a really nice little detail that I thought that is just, it's cementing that I've misjudged Mrs. Cunningham. Another little detail about Mrs. Cunningham, or when she did arrive, she brought Amy's shroud. Now, Claire didn't even think about the fact that that might have already been prepared, or she might have already had one. And Mrs. Cunningham went and collected it on her way to Claire's house, basically. This detail was also interesting, that her shroud was covered in embroidered or stitched bees. I thought, oh, that's another nice little tie-in for the title. The bees, they're constantly in here. There are little tidbits here and there, and I love it. Now, from the previous chapter, we also know that Amy's body had been absolutely mauled. Now, this poor woman's eye was hanging from its socket. And Claire's initial thought was maybe we'll just cover her face for when people want to come and see her and say their final goodbyes. But Mrs. Cunningham was pretty adamant that, no, Claire, you can definitely do better than that. You can make her look more presentable and, you know, this is sort of your area, Claire. Come on, we can do this because her family will definitely want to see her and will want to say goodbye. Claire does agree, and it is at this point that Amy's eye is just surgically removed. Claire just cuts it out. There's no point it being there anymore. She stitches up her eye socket and really does, you know, puts her sort of back into position. I'm sorry if that's grossing anybody out, but that's what happened in the book. We also find out that Mrs. Cunningham's name is Elizabeth. And I kept thinking in my brain it's Elizabeth, but it's not. It's Elizabeth without the A in the middle. So Elizabeth. That's her name. Again, another nice little detail. We see this chapter, I really feel we were getting lots of little things about Mrs. Cunningham that we're putting her back into the nice category. But unfortunately, as they put, you know, poor Amy's eye on the counter after surgically removing it, a dog runs in and snatches it. Now, this I found really gross, but at the same time, it is something that would genuinely happen if you leave someone's eye and there's dogs running around and there's people, like, it was just bound to happen. Something icky and gross was bound to happen. We then jump back to what the gentlemen are doing in the chapter, and Jamie has gone and asked Roger if he can come with him to talk to Bobby in regards to going hunting with young Aiden. Now, when they're off chatting to Bobby, he's like, well, what, you're going to take Aiden? I should definitely be going on this, you know, it's my sort of duty. Jamie and Roger both say to Bobby, no, of course you don't need to come. You need to look after your other children, etc., etc. It's then that good old Jamie throws Roger under the bus a little bit and says, well, Roger's definitely coming. He's going to watch the children and watch Aiden and make sure that nothing happens to them. So rest assured, everything will be a-okay. And Bobby pretty much agrees, and they go hunting for the bear. We then jump into chapter 29, which was titled Remember Man. Now, this chapter starts off back with Claire and Bree, and it's at this point in time that Claire sends Bree off to find a coffin for Amy. Now, obviously, there is one gentleman building coffins on the ridge or within close proximity for Bree to go off and, you know, acquire one. But when she does get there, she finds out that she does have to actually either wait around for him to finish it or give him a hand. This is obviously something that Bree is going to be most comfortable with. She's clearly someone that's able to work with her hands, somebody that is able to, well, we know what Bree is like. She is fantastic. She can jump in and try anything. So much to the shock of I can't really know if he's called an undertaker because he's just the coffin builder. I don't know, but much to his dismay, he's like, okay, well, you can at least sand if nothing else, so jump on in and we'll get this coffin built. We then jump back to Jamie, Ian, and the other men hunting the bear. Now, the bear was obviously pretty easy for them to find. It definitely didn't seem like it took long in the book for the bear to be found. It was still in the exact same area, and it was just, you know, it was very, here's the bear, let's go get it. So as they get there, they realize that the bear is actually sort of in an area that is not easily accessible to shoot at the bear. So Jamie asks Ian to shoot an arrow at the bear to get him to sort of move a bit, and so Jamie can have a clean shot and get rid of the bear. Obviously, all this happens, but in the mad rush of it all happening, like the arrow, the gun, you know, what's happening, young Aiden decides to run at the bear. Now, obviously, they try to grab him and they miss him, and he gets so close to the bear. Well, he gets very close to the bear because he actually stabs the bear. Now, I mean, time travel books are a little bit like, some things are unbelievable, but I just don't think that a bear that has been shot with an arrow, shot with a gun, is just going to be calm enough for little young Aiden to come up and stab him and not have had a swipe at Aiden. Anyway, that doesn't matter. It happened. Young Aiden got the stab in on the bear. And I mean, obviously, Aiden has suffered immense trauma in the last couple of chapters. So, you know, whatever. But it was just a little bit too unrealistic for my liking. Just a little bit. As everybody has now returned back to the big house, Bree is definitely the subject focus, and it's at this point in time where she is most certainly starting to feel better that she was able to do something for Amy. I mean, she has now physically helped build Amy's coffin for her final resting place, and, you know, she definitely does feel better. Until they're at the wake and everything is happening and proceeding kind of smoothly, until she goes and attempts to talk to Bobby himself. Now, obviously, poor Bree, the trauma that this poor girl has suffered in the last, say, 24 hours would be astronomical. When she's gone to speak to Bobby, she's had an absolute panic attack. She couldn't breathe. She just needed to be out of that room. She does make a very quick dart up the stairs, and Roger, of course, notices what is happening. He does go upstairs, and Bree explains that she just can't breathe. She needs to just get out of her clothes. She can't breathe. She's had enough. And she does say that she kind of thinks they made a mistake by coming back to this time. She realizes just how close to death she really was, and how close her children were to being without a mother, and everything that is just happened in the last 24 hours sort of comes crashing down on her. And it's nice to see that. I mean, it's not nice to see this happen to a character, but it's nice to see that that is more of a reality of what would have happened. If you have just literally watched your friend get mauled by a bear, and then you've gone and helped build a coffin, and there is just no way you would not have had some sort of, oh my God moment where you just have a 10-minute breakdown. There is just no way that would have not happened. So I'm so glad that that was put into this book, because even though Bree is such a strong dominant character and strong independent woman, she definitely also has those moments where it's like, this is just not feasible. You just would not be going, holy wow. So I'm so glad that that was more realistic than young Aiden stabbing the bear. Chapter 30 is titled You Should Know, and I feel like this is going to be the final chapter that sort of is happening within this 24-48 hour period in regards to Amy's death. It is a very, very short chapter, and it really does kind of finalize this area of the book, I believe. Now, this chapter was predominantly told by Claire, and it is set the very next day after the wake and everything that's been happening at the house, and it is the actual burying of Amy Higgins. Now, it doesn't go into extreme detail of the burial, but we know that everybody is there and the burial has happened. And then it goes into more of details of, you know, everyone was looking after Bobby and who had little short conversations with Bobby, and, you know, little dialect was here and there. There wasn't anything major that I was like, oh, that's a tig point for next sort of that's coming up. It was just very much how everyone was caring for each other and how everyone was like looking after Bobby, and different things were popping up though that was like, you could see the women that were, oh, well, Bobby has a nice house now, he's sort of back on the market, and there were just little things like that that I was like, oh, that's a bit, okay, but I suppose that probably was happening. I mean, it probably does happen still now, but just little things like that were just little conversations. The main part of this book that the main part of this chapter that I enjoyed was, again, the bees being brought up into it. And that is when Claire, after the funeral and after everything was done, actually went to the bees and informed them what was happening. You know, she told the bees, Amy has died and now she's buried, and remember her, she was the one that did this and that and that. And it was really, she has listened to John Quincy Myers. She has most certainly said, yeah, okay, everything that is important, once I've done my duties and I've done my jobs, I'm going to go and tell them. I'm going to go tell the bees if this is what it takes. So she has. She's gone off and told the bees what has happened. And I think, I love that it's happening because, I mean, obviously it ties in the title, Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. And it's just, I love that she listens to John Quincy Myers, and I love that it's sort of, because people do. I mean, I tell my dog random things. I mean, you know, everyone has that outlet. And I feel like these bees are going to be Claire's outlet later on in the book. I feel like something's going to happen, and Claire's, you know, her emotional break will be that she gets to express it and tell them what's happening. But who knows, I might be completely wrong, but I feel like that might be a tig point later on in the book. This was also the final chapter in part 2 of the book. Part 3 is what we're going to discuss next with the opening chapters, and I do believe, because I had a little sneak before I started filming this video, that we're back to a William chapter in the next one. So I will continue to bunch a few chapters together because it makes it a little bit easier for myself. I'm really sorry if you were enjoying the chapter by chapter reviews, but I really hope that I'm doing everything justice for this book, and I hope you are all still enjoying the videos. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so. It really does help the channel grow. If you know anyone that might enjoy the Outlander content that I have here on the channel, please share them a video. I would love to start growing the channel again for 2022. I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for another chapter video. Have a great day. Bye.
Sing me a song of a lass that is gone.